completely different. This may well be the shortest book on losing weight you have ever read. But don't be fooled by its size. As I think you'll agree, thin is good, and it's what's inside that really matters. I've worked hard to make this little book as concise as possible, so concise that you can probably finish the whole thing in less than a day. But what a day it will be! During that time, you will not only discover what's been keeping you from the body you desire, but you'll also learn the simplest and most effective weight loss system ever devised. It's a system that has helped people who felt as though they had failed at every diet in the world, or been overweight all their lives, as well as those people who just wanted to lose weight and feel great for life. Whether your primary goal is to lose weight, lead a healthier lifestyle, feel really happy with your body, or just to be able to lose those last 10 pounds, this system is exactly what you've been looking for. I'll also reveal the truth about exercise and share with you some simple but powerful techniques to supercharge your metabolism, control your cravings, and let go of the emotional issues you used to stuff down with food. Finally, I'll teach you some of my favorite hypnosis techniques, which you can use to feel better now and in the future. You'll be able to put on the CD anytime you want to reinforce the principles deep into your unconscious mind. But don't take my word for it, just follow my instructions step by step and notice how your body and life begin to change for the better. Learning the secrets of naturally thin people. Throughout the book, I will share with you the secrets I have gleaned by studying naturally thin people. These are not the stick figure models whose wife-like physiques come from eating disorders, drug addiction, and airbrushing, but rather those people in life who somehow seem to be able to eat whatever they want and stay slim. By developing the eating habits of naturally thin people, you'll be able to eat anything you want, whenever you want, and still lose weight. Let's face it, you can have what you want, or you can have your reasons for not having it. So, if absolutely anyone can lose weight with this system, the only other question we need to ask is this: why aren't you thin yet? There are three main patterns I have observed that keep people from living happily at their desired weight. As you read through the descriptions below, notice which of these apply to you. Then, when we begin reprogramming your mind in Chapter 3, you will be able to apply just the right tools and begin to lose weight immediately. Pattern 1. Obsessive dieting. I was browsing through some of the recent releases in the weight loss section of my local bookstore. What I found astounding was that despite the fact that nearly all of them were filled with forbidden food lists, menus, and calorie guides, they each began with the words, "This is not a diet." Let's begin by getting one thing straight. A diet is any system of eating that attempts to exert external control over what, where, when, or how much you eat. Dieting has gotten a bad name over the past few years, and there's a good reason for that. Scientific research shows that more than 90% of people who attempt to lose weight by dieting fail. Whenever somebody comes up to tell me about the weight they've lost on this great new diet, I ask them to come back and tell me about it in 6 months' time. If they are still happy about their weight and their diet in 6 months, I am ready to listen. Unfortunately, I am still waiting for anybody to come back. My theory: too many diets, too few results. With over 25,000 diet books currently in print, many of which contain directly contradictory information, is it any wonder you find yourself as confused and misguided as the multi-billion-dollar weight loss industry? It's not just that diets don't work, many of them are an outright con. In fact, when I see celebrities who have battled their weight problems, endorsing the latest fad diet, I don't know how they keep a straight face. In most instances, what they have actually done is tried a diet, lost weight, and then put the weight back on again a few months later. Then they simply tried another diet, lost weight, and promoted that one for a few months until the weight started piling back on. In case you haven't picked up on the message here, it's this: forget about dieting forever. Diets are essentially training courses in how to get fat and feel like a failure. The more diets people try and fail at, the more they convince themselves they will never be able to lose weight. What nobody tells you is that the real reason most weight loss programs don't work has nothing to do with you, it's to do with human biology. In his seminal study into human starvation during the Second World War, biological researcher Ansel Keys discovered that reducing people's diet to a state of semi-starvation produced symptoms of irritability, loss of endurance, and obsessive behavior around food, including but not limited to lying, hoarding, and stealing. Even more telling, in the 3-month period after the semi-starvation was ended and people could once again eat whatever they wanted, their obsession with food continued. Many people ate up to 8 times as much food as they had done before the study began. Does any of this sound familiar? That experiment, documented in the 1950s treatise The Biology of Human Starvation, is considered unreplicable. After all, to starve people purposely would be cruel and inhumane. But here's an interesting fact. The semi-starvation rations from the original study amounted to about 1,500 calories a day, more than is allowed in any number of the thousands of diets currently in vogue. What all this goes to show is that depriving yourself of food is the worst possible way to lose weight. And if what you're doing isn't working, you need to do something different. Pattern 2. Emotional eating. I am convinced that after diets, emotional eating is the #1 cause of obesity in the world. Many times people eat because they are bored or lonely or miserable or tired, or any one of 100 emotional reasons, none of which has anything to do with physical hunger. If you eat based on emotional hunger, your body will never feel satisfied by food. This is why many people think that they never feel full. They never get the signal to stop eating because they were never hungry for food in the first place. Maybe you first put on weight following a trauma or difficult time in your life and you began to comfort eat to help you through that time. Now, even though that stressful time is past, you have kept the dysfunctional habit of eating when you feel upset, lonely, or just bored. This habit stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of why we feel what we feel. An emotion is a bit like someone knocking on your door to deliver a message. If the message is urgent, it knocks loudly. If it's very urgent, it knocks very loudly. If it is very urgent and you don't answer the door, it knocks louder and louder and louder until you open the door or it breaks it down. Either way, the emotion will continue to come up until it's done its job. As soon as you open the door, by listening to the emotional message and taking appropriate action, the emotion will simply go away. The good news is that with this new understanding, you don't have to be a victim anymore. While I will be sharing a number of powerful techniques in the chapter on emotional eating, one of my colleagues has achieved an extraordinary amount of success by simply making his clients put a giant question mark on their fridge. The question mark is there to remind them to stop before grabbing a snack and ask themselves this question. Am I really hungry, or do I just want to change the way I feel? If it turns out that what you actually want is a change in the way that you feel, no amount of food will work as well as applying the simple techniques in this book and on the hypnosis CD. One additional thought. I am continually surprised at the number of women, and occasionally men, I work with who realize that their initial weight gain coincided with a traumatic incident from the past, ranging from episodes of sexual abuse to seemingly innocuous teasing leading to embarrassment in front of their peers. While the techniques in this book and on the hypnosis CD will help, they are not intended as a substitute for professional guidance. If you suspect this could apply to you, ask your doctor to recommend an appropriate therapist. Pattern 3. Faulty programming. If you are overweight, it's not your fault, it's the natural result of your current mental programming, and no diet, pill, shake, or how to book can change that. The only way to lose weight and keep it off is to go to the unconscious mind and change your relationship with food forever. So relax. You are not crazy, you are not broken, and you are not a bad person. You have simply developed some very unproductive habits. The good news is that once you learn to reprogram your mind, it will be just as simple to develop new habits of thinking and acting that will guarantee your success. You don't even have to believe that it will work. Just follow my instructions and you will not only lose weight but stop obsessing about food forever. In just a few minutes, I'm going to share with you the 4 most important things you will ever learn about losing weight and keeping it off for life. But before we get started, I want you to stop for a moment and do the thought experiment on the opposite page. The power of perspective. Go to near the end of your life. Imagine that it is many years from now and you decided not to follow my instructions and begin losing weight. Instead, you went on trying one diet after another, continuing to gain weight and lose your precious vitality year after year after year. What were the consequences of that decision on your health? What were the consequences on your relationships? What were the consequences on your sense of well-being? How do you feel in your body? Now, take a few moments to imagine following this program and easily reaching and maintaining your target weight. How good does this feel? How much energy do you have? What are you able to do? What clothes are you able to wear? Who are you with? What are you doing? Exactly what will it be like when you have lived at your target weight for years and years? Now, stop. It's time to decide. If you want to hang on to your excuses and your excess weight, you may as well put the book down now. But if you're ready finally to get that monkey off your back and those inches off your waist, know that what you do from this moment onward is entirely up to you. So let's get started. Frequently asked questions about, are you ready for something completely different? Q. I've tried lots of different ways to lose weight and none of them have worked. How is your system different? In a fascinating study at the University of Hertfordshire, Professor Ben Fletcher achieved spectacular results by teaching people to respond to their hunger pangs by going out and doing something in the world, turning off the TV and going for a walk, speaking with a friend, or even going out to a movie. As a result of doing something different around food, their habits began to change. People naturally began to make healthier choices around food and exercise. The reason nothing's worked before is you've done the same thing over and over again. You've systematically starved yourself by dieting. The only thing you've changed is the recipes. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Q. What if I'm really overweight? Can I still use this system or do I need to diet first? This system is directly at odds with any and every diet you might try, because it's diets and the dieting mentality that were making and keeping you overweight in the first place. At the risk of repeating myself, I'll say it one more time. Anything or anyone who tries to tell you what, where, when, or how much to eat is teaching you to ignore your body, and if you're overweight, your body is trying to tell you it doesn't like being ignored. I don't care how much you weigh, if you've been overweight all your life, or if all your family are overweight, as you use this system you will lose weight and feel more in control and better about yourself. Q. How well does this work? I want to look like the models in magazines. So do the models in the magazines. Most of the pictures you see on magazine covers have been digitally altered in order to make them striking so that you will buy the magazine. They are not representative of reality. Rather than compare yourself to something that doesn't exist, it's far better to compare yourself to yourself. Far too many women compare themselves with an airbrushed picture of an anorexic girl on a magazine cover and decide they aren't good enough as a human being. You are likely to feel significantly better if you ask yourself this question instead. How much better am I getting? Actually, I lived in New York for a number of years and had the opportunity to meet many of the world's most famous models. What struck me was that even though many of these women looked so incredibly beautiful, they were pretty miserable, which I suppose is understandable given that they're so hungry all the time. I realized that they spent all their time looking for flaws and rarely saw the perfection of who they already were. As the great philosopher Goethe said, it's not so important where we stand, but the direction in which we are moving. Human beings are usually at any time either getting better or worse. If you are getting better, excellent. If you are getting worse, then you know the direction in which you need to move. Reprinted with permission from I Can Make You Thin, copyright 2009 by Paul Mckena, Sterling Publishing Company, Inc. For more information, please visit www.mckena.com.